Let's go!
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a very sharp weapon and just hit this bottle exactly where the seam meets the neck.
Straight out of the T-Dot.
That's what it is.
Live from the 6 boroughs.
Don't go nowhere.
For sure. Welcome to Standing in the 6 with your hosts Michael and Constantine.
Jimson, we know that he just for some reason keeps making the news.
That's right.
And it's actually for all the right reasons.
That's
I mean, they actually say that, in showbiz there's no bad publicity.
Completely.
Which that's a pretty crazy world when you do live in it. We have a chance to kind of be around that world quite often. I guess it's how you spin it. But we don't have our PR reps with us right now. And I actually have to say it's pretty amazing. As we're planning to do this episode, I get an email and it's highlighting yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to thank LinkedIn for that, for keeping us to have a pulse on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And Jimson recently made the news because he decided to follow through with paying his staff the Ontario minimum wage that was once given and then retracted. Okay, so in Ontario, in Toronto, where we're filming from, minimum wage right now is $14 an hour. And it was supposed to go January 1st, 2019, it was supposed to go up to $15. That was not as given as a requirement. Jimson actually decided that on principle and for the sake of his people that he would pay them that $15 and honor it. And
Right.
I guess if you call it, someone would say you're a disruptor, an agitator, someone who's going upstream, someone who doesn't follow the crowd. That's kind of really big for Constantine and myself, is just to be a thinker, to be someone that says, you know what, I'm not going to just do what everyone's doing because everyone's doing it. Let me ask, the thinking. Was this something that you were warming up to? Was it something that you knew right off the top that, when the government said that you do not have to do it as a baseline requirement, that you thought, I'm still going to stick to it? How did it kind of come for you?
Well, I think like you guys, a lot of it is about keeping your word.
Mm-hmm.
And when the initial thing started, it was about 18 months ago now. We had a particular government in, and it was going to go from $11.90 to $14, the minimum wage, 1st of January 2018, and then up to $15 on 1st of January 2019. Well, I promised the staff that we would do that, and there's been a change in government and a change in thinking, but that doesn't make my promise any less valid. I promised these guys that this is what was going to happen, and I guess I could have said, well, I don't have to do it anymore because the government, blah, 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 but no. We did it anyway, and we didn't just put the minimum people up, because if you just put the minimum up, then that compresses the lower end of the pay scale. We put everybody up $2.10 last year, and we put everybody up $1 this year.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just not fair for the rest of the people who are a little higher up in the scale.
Yeah, I can imagine. I remember entering the workforce quite some time. I think minimum wage was $6 at the time. And even then,
Yeah.
it's really crazy to think how you can make a living in our city. If we're a budding world-class city, cost of living is crazy. Even $15, people got to be really smart with their money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard. And the other part of it is if you only pay minimum, I know you guys don't in your business.
Right.
If you only pay minimum, then what happens is that the staff are going to be looking for another job. Because they're going to be looking, even if it's for the same amount of money, they'll be looking for another job that has better conditions or better flexibility, or something else. If it's not the money, you're at a base. If you do the absolute legal minimum, then why would they want to stay?
Right.
I think for us, we talk about this often, about that time is money. You always hear it, and there's a point where you realize when you're stretched for time, and there's so many things that are begging it, that it's not about whether you can do it, it's if you should. And I say that, if that type of dynamic exists, there's obviously a revolving door. You have a revolving door of staff, and then you're just constantly training new people because they have no incentive to stay.
Completely.
Yeah.
And for us it's at several levels. If we have to keep hiring people and keep training them, then they flip and go somewhere else, then we have to hire again. 3 months, what's that? Maybe $4,000 at minimum wage? That cost me $4,000. Wasn't it better just to give that money to the people who are already working and get them to stay?
Yeah, actually invest in them.
Completely. You're investing in the staff. That's number one. And then number two, like you guys, we're in a customer service focused environment. Hospitality, yours is focused hospitality, I guess. And by having regularly, we have regular customers, as you do, and by seeing the same faces as an employee every time, we know their names, we know who they are, we're able to know that you want an Americano with almond milk or something before you even walk in the door, because the staff know the customers.
It's funny how that makes a difference. I mean, it's true.
It's
I'll say
huge.
from a consumer point of view, my wife and I, we will travel across city to go to the place that we know that they know us. You know, and just, I guess, in such a large city of 7 million people. Toronto, by the way, this AKA the 6 is the third largest market in North America. First being New York, second being LA. Most people don't know that. This is a huge city. I mean,
Right.
it's funny, whenever I'm in the States and I hear the woes of traffic. I was in LA not a couple months ago. We went there after TIFF. Traffic's traffic. We know it.
Yeah.
It's all, Toronto actually has the longest average commute in the world to work, which is 88 minutes.
Wow.
That's a one-way commute, which is crazy.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That is crazy, which is great to listen to a podcast. Anyways.
Yeah, that's 3 hours a day.
Yeah,
back
Exactly.
and forth.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Hey, pretty good.
That's
That's
right,
our
yeah.
market, maybe.
Yeah.
You know? So let's not hate on traffic. Let's encourage it.
Let's make this segment 88 minutes.
Yes.
Okay. That's great.
Well, look, being a founding partner, presidente of Hot Black Coffee.
Yeah.
Let me just go into my little coffee spiel here. I love coffee. Okay. Actually, I don't know if I love it, because I think I've grown to love it. I mean, I think coffee is an acquired taste for anyone. I actually gave my son the other day, we were on the weekend, I said, "Hey, you want to taste my coffee?"
How old is he?
He's 10. And he just
European blood.
Yeah,
yeah,
just
Get
to
'em.
taste it. And I don't have any sugar in it. I stopped drinking sugar in my coffee, and he actually had a little sip. And for him, it was disgusting. And it just brought back memories for me when I had my first sip of coffee, which was when I was 25. Okay, and that's when I started.
Are you
working.
kidding me?
That's when I first coffee. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was a social thing. Everyone got together. They had their coffees. But for me, it was about working night shifts, and I needed something to give me the kick. Now, I've grown to love a certain specific line of coffee. Obviously, Tim Hortons was my number one line of coffee. However, I never ever was a fan of Starbucks, ever. And to this day, I'm probably going to insult a lot of people. I'm not a Starbucks coffee lover, right?
Wow.
But I do have to say that when I found out that you were opening up, and I tried your coffee, it was damn fine. Okay, and to me, it only made sense. It only made sense when you gave me that behind the scenes tour of how.
Oh, yeah.
How we, and I don't know if we want to give that secret away. I'm not sure.
No, we
Yeah.
can give a secret away.
But
There's
why
nothing.
don't you tell us what?
Well, why is the coffee good?
Well, yeah. And is it your favorite choice, given the fact that there is other markets out there?
Oh, well, I like what we do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
The idea right from the start was to be kind of cutting edge,
Right.
global cutting edge at every level, customer service, equipment, and coffee.
Right.
And we felt that there's some great places out there, don't get me wrong, but if we could kind of nail it on the head in terms of quality and consistency of quality, and that we can do it fast, because you don't want to wait, with a smile and a really nice environment, then we're good to go.
Right.
So my business partner, she's strictly business.
Okay.
She's no, I'm married. I've got kids with some people say, oh, it's your wife. No, or girlfriend. No. Momi Kishi. She's a competition barista, and she's won all sorts of competitions. And
Competition barista.
yeah.
That's
Well,
a world, man. I
oh
love it.
wow, it's
Amazing.
it's a heavy world. That competition stuff. It's really
Wow.
really hard. And so she's been competing for a long time. She was one of the first kind of baristas in this wave of coffee in Canada. In Toronto, she was the first real barista at Dark Horse.
Okay.
And kind of moved with them, and then moved around a bit. She picked up the kind of the bug of good coffee in Australia. And Australia is a funny place because it's mostly English people there originally, and they all drank tea.
Yes.
And the only people that were drinking coffee were not the English kind of people. It was the Italian immigrants and the Greeks and that crowd, and they were drinking very traditional kind of Italian, ristretto, concentrated espressos. And then the children of the immigrants started messing around with their parents' equipment, and started messing with the not following the rules, doing and going more for actual taste as opposed to caffeine. Upset the parents a lot, reduced the temperatures of the machines, started roasting differently, started really going for targeting like fine wine, really
Right.
targeting single origins, and that's where it all started. And once it had kind of taken off there, the wave spread a little bit. And Momi caught that bug there, and when she got to Canada, it's like, I really want this. And she couldn't find anywhere, so she tried to replicate it herself.
Right.
And she was kind of part of the original
I love that.
people doing that. So where is it now? We one of the big things is to have consistency and apply really a scientific rigor to it. It's not just an art. Have a good science in the back. So what we do is we do a reverse osmosis water system, which we remineralize to give us just the right amount of minerality in it. That way there's no chemicals in it.
So
There's
your
no
TDS is at 0.
Absolutely. Well, no, it starts off at 0 with,
Yes.
but then we look at you.
Well, I know that. 'cause
Yeah, TDS, total dissolved solids. So that's the amount of stuff dissolved in the water. So you
Right.
start off with 0 at the reverse osmosis, but 0 is not. It's kind of weird with coffee, so we add minerality back to it to bring it up. So that way we have a constant starting, and then we have climate-controlled ClimaPro grinders, so the particle size is always bang on and the dose is bang on. We have there's lots of equipment out there, but we have which is really good. But we have a system called ModBar. It was a little beta when we got it, made in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Incredible pressure and flow control. It allows us to, instead of just banging the pressure up to 9 bar and then going across and down, we can change the flow and the temperature and the pressure during the actual cycle of the espresso to bring out better and better qualities that we like out of it.
No, is the science in it? Is that what speeds up the process?
Well, the science helps in terms of consistency because we've got 12, 14 staff and stuff. So the consistency is also important. Like when you go and get a wicked Manhattan at some bar.
Yes.
If you go back to the bar and it's not such a good Manhattan, it's not good for anybody.
Right.
And so that comes down to training and making sure that each bartender is using exactly the same method. There's only 3 ingredients in a Manhattan, or even 2, depending on how you make it. So you can, it's quite easy to screw up or just make it differently. And so the training is super duper important as well. I mean, I liken it a bit to a Ferrari, if you like. So it's one thing having a Ferrari
Yes.
or whatever, a Lamborghini or whatever you like, but you don't want to be just kind of one of those idiots in Vancouver who's just driving it around in first gear for show.
That's right.
And you don't know how to drive and you don't know what you're doing. How you maintain, a race quality on the track Ferrari is you need really good tires. You need all the mechanical stuff. You need the oil, you need the gas, you need all that stuff.
All of it.
You need a mechanical team to keep it tweaking, which is what we've got, but you need a pilot. You need to have good people. And it kind of brings us back to the whole thing is without the people, the Ferrari is meaningless.
Right.
And it's not just the driver. It's the mechanical team who are making sure that it's good if you're doing the pit stop thing, look at the pit stop in Formula
Right,
1 or that
right.
sort of thing. It's all about team. It's not just mechanics.
See, a couple of things here. One, I love what you're saying here because a lot of times, right, when people just see something, the final product, they just say, "Oh, I can do that."
Yeah.
For example.
Well, go ahead and do it
Yeah,
then.
but what they don't see is all, and I'm talking about everything.
It goes for everything.
From
It goes
somebody
for
wanting to be a musician or an
anything.
actor, they don't understand what it takes to get there and what you have to do, and it's just not one thing, but it has to be a whole bunch of things that connect together. Look, about maybe 15 years ago, I was very interested in starting up another like little business. So I was actually, maybe it's even longer, maybe 20 years ago, starting a franchise with buying one for Tim Hortons. Okay, and back then the franchises were $250,000 just to buy the
I
actual
remember.
coffee, right?
Yeah.
Plus you had to buy the building, which
Yeah.
apparently the cost was $1 million. Now I say that because it's very, very hard to tap into a market, and as an entrepreneur, and like for example, coffee, man. Look at your competition. Your competition is like Starbucks.
Yeah,
and
well, we have a
this and that.
Starbucks across the street. We've got Second Cup, not even 100 meters from us.
Right.
We've got Tim Hortons around the corner. There's a little thing called Cozy across the street from
Right.
us.
We're gonna
There's
bleep,
one
out, we're
3
gonna
doors
bleep
up.
out all those names.
No,
in
don't
post.
bleep
We
them
got
out. It's
beep.
all
Yeah,
good.
it's all good.
But they're all different markets as well, right?
absolutely.
I don't compete with the sort of the Tim Hortons people,
Right.
or
Yeah.
Starbucks or Second Cup. We're providing a different product.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
A product that Constantine wouldn't have, based on what he said.
That's
no,
right.
but he
He
likes it now,
frequents.
though. He likes it now. But it's different. You got. I have respect for Tim Hortons. Don't get me wrong. It's very different. You're looking at very much about the caffeine,
Right.
and the consistency of the caffeine, and they do a great job in the consistency. Where it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to get the same product.
Right.
The consistency is good.
Right.
Some of the other chains are not the same in terms of their training and stuff. But it's not my idea of a coffee, because I'm all about the kind of the flavor and stuff.
Would you consider yourself a premium coffee?
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
premium.
The website says
yeah.
best coffee ever, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it was deliberately provocative.
What I love about the story you were saying is just the inception, the journey for Momi, for her
Yeah.
to say, you know what, I believe I could possibly achieve something.
Yeah.
That she had enough of a taste, enough sense that, we talk about vision, we talk about, to be creative means you take nothing and you turn it into something.
Completely.
Truly. And it just like, that's like at the basis of everything that we are as a species, as a humanity, as people, is that someone just said, you know what, I'm tired of having a wire at the end of my phone.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And like these little things that are problems, which are these opportunities. I love that happen.
Completely.
And-
She had a vision.
Yeah.
She had a vision, and I'm going for it.
Yeah.
And we met, and we shared the same philosophy, that it wasn't just about the science, or just like the Ferrari. It wasn't
Yes.
just about the tires or the track or the thing. It's the whole package.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you get the whole package right, then you can make the best coffee ever. Now that's deliberately provocative, but let's use wine as an analogy. We're up there. But do you personally prefer, I don't know, Cabernet Sauvignon from the States, or do you prefer, a local cool climate Chardonnay, or do you prefer the Bordeaux or Burgundy or Loire or whatever? And then in that, there's the sort of specifics. We're a particular flavor and a particular style.
I think that that entire philosophy speaks to you. That's why we have a lot of respect for you. Every couple of years, you have something amazing happening. It's almost like everything you decide to do, you decide to go in. You go in a different way. You go in your own way, which is so amazing.
Right.
And you lay down great work with great people. And if you ever go on to anything else, for us, it's exciting to know that there's something else that's happening with you. That just kind of like we talk about your life being like a river versus like a swamp. Because
I'm just always going on to the next thing.
Yeah.
I don't see it as hey, what am I going to do, which is global cutting edge. I don't see it like that. I just like, okay, I've got an opportunity, and this is something that I really think I could make something cool out of.
Yeah.
And go for it.
Yeah, being different for different sake, that's when you just got that bad haircut. You know what I mean?
Well, I am bald, so it's game over.
Rhetorically speaking.
You got great hair.
Come on. I actually,
jealous.
I hate it. I hate putting
really?
product in.
One thing that I'm actually noticing more and more, because I usually have always known Mike to have shaved head. Now,
Always.
More that I'm noticing is he'll do, I don't know if you do this often.
What?
He'll always be like, just kind of like, in the middle of this conversation, just kind of give that nice little fold down. Do you realize you do that?
No, I don't.
I wish
do
I
that.
could do it.
He does do
I
that.
wish I
don't
could
do
do
that.
that. It's just all I get is stubble.
It's probably just like a nervous tick because I can't stand hair in my face. or
Really?
anything. Yeah.
I mean, I used to
Anyways.
have long hair, but
Now, with that
I
said,
had super long hair.
other time that you made the news, which was really cool, and that individual thinking. There's just something about, man. We strongly believe this. We talk about this all the time about defining ourselves. Like, who are we? What are we about? What do we stand for? Okay, and that's kind of one of the basic premise of why we're even having this conversation. A couple of years ago, you got a shout out on Jimmy Fallon and articles in New York Times and other media. It was amazing where at that time, conventional wisdom was if you wanted people to come into your establishment, you had to have Wi-Fi.
For a coffee shop, yeah.
For a coffee shop specifically. I mean, there's Wi-Fi everywhere right now.
Sure.
You can kind of go anywhere. I guess a bank, a library, like anywhere you want, there's Wi-Fi. They're even gridding out entire cities now with it. I mean, it's going to...
They're about to fit out Queen Street West, actually.
Is it? Okay.
That's going to be very powerful Wi-Fi from University all the way to Bathurst. There'll be free Wi-Fi.
Wow.
Provided by the Queen Street BIA.
Wow.
Okay. See, I mean, and that's going to be the norm. I remember seeing something in the news a couple of years ago about they were trying to grid the entire city.
Yeah.
That they'd have certain points where subway, no matter where you were, that you'd have great Wi-Fi. I mean, we'll probably have a lot of headaches that come with it.
Well, it means
I
that
mean,
the
literal-
people will be
literal
have,
headaches.
Well, but also people. It means.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't talked about why I'm on the Jimmy Fallon and stuff, but the thinking was right from the very start that we wanted to be a hub for the local community, social.
Mm-hmm.
A social hub for the local community, be it visiting, be it resident, be it tourist or whatever. We still count it as being the local community. And if we were just selling coffee, then it becomes a commodity. And what we wanted is to make sure that there's a personability, like we see ourselves as a vehicle for human interaction.
Ooh,
And
I like that.
that's what we do.
Yeah. That's your why. I mean,
yeah.
yeah. And I say
But
that. I mean,
I've been at it everywhere.
I'll
you
fill
know,
in
we
the
were-
blank because we know what we're talking about. If you're lost at all listening to this, how Jimmy Fallon shouted out hot black coffee via what Jimson's decision was with his partner was that they didn't have Wi-Fi. They purposely didn't have that option for their customer base, and the thinking was intentional. And that's the thing. I mean, we say, like, if you're going to do something bold, if you make it work, that's all that matters. And their reason why is they wanted people to connect with each other. That when they went into a coffee shop, they connected with the people that frequented it versus we know that posture. I mean, that's what they say, that
Completely.
kids are actually getting pains in their neck and needing physiotherapy before they're even a teenager because their head is constantly down. That's a real thing.
I mean, Jimson, did you know this before you opened the shop that I'm not going to put Wi-Fi in the shop?
Oh yeah, not having Wi-Fi is actually just a small part of it. So what we did was, it was actually Momi's idea, saying it drives me crazy, and then we started talking about it.
Nice.
And it's like, okay, cool, it's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I came from the complete reverse, where we worked at. Well, I was the founding general manager at Soho House, kind of a
Yes.
cool private members club international thing, and I opened a Toronto one, and we had a T1 line there. So a T1 line is massive data, and allows great internet and great Wi-Fi, and it allows 300 people to be uploading or downloading at the same time. I'd just come from that environment when I was at Soho House, and then it was the complete reverse that we decided to do at Hot Black. And instead of encouraging the individuality, absolutely, is to encourage the connectivity. So part of it is to try and make it naturally more conducive to people to talk to each other. So how did we do that? Well, all of the counters are deliberately very low in the service area. The mod bar equipment that I was talking about, the espresso equipment, is not a big honking machine. It just looks like a beer tap, actually. All the stuff is happening underneath the counter. So there's nothing in the way between you and the staff.
So by design.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of the counters around the edges, they're too small to put a laptop on. They're all too narrow.
How often do people come up to you and say, "Hey, can I get the Wi-Fi password?"
Maybe half a dozen times a day.
And what's the response? Is there a trained...
We don't have... No.
Is there a trained standards response?
No, we just say, I'm sorry.
Is there
No.
Is there a French
no,
response?
No. We
Okay.
just say we don't have Wi-Fi. And mostly...
Do they ever just say, I'm done, they walk away?
Sometimes.
Really?
And that's when we get trashed in social media too, actually.
Really?
Yeah, we get trashed a lot. If you look at our Google scores or whatever, it's 5-star, 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 boom, 1-star. And every time there's the 1-star, it's almost always because we didn't have Wi-Fi. And I understand it.
What about a little sign that says, we don't have Wi-Fi? If you want to know why, go to... And you have a YouTube
Look,
link,
if you've got
and people can watch it, and it explains.
Well, I guess there's the whole story behind it. We'll get into the whole story. Why if we really had to.
Yeah.
But that's not the idea. We just want people to come and enjoy a coffee,
Let me
or
ask
not
you-
necessarily coffee, tea or whatever.
Why does that matter? Think about that. What I love is just think of our fast-paced society. We go a mile a minute. Why does it matter to slow down at that coffee shop?
Well, it matters to slow down regardless.
Yeah.
You'll see the whole mindfulness wave at the moment. Have a break, have 5 minutes, have 10 minutes, and do a bit of meditation. They're doing that in schools now, doing a mindfulness thing to try and slow the kids down and get them to focus on themselves and feel good and stuff. So there's that part of it. But we also thought that, we went to another coffee shop in Toronto, and we took all the staff, and just pre-opening, we took the staff around, and we went to one coffee shop, absolutely jam-packed full, but you could hear a pin drop in the place, and it just wasn't fun. The coffee was fine, and it was fine as a working environment, but isn't that just like a WeWork space?
Yeah.
And we always wanted right from the beginning to do something like, well, why are the coffee shops all full all the time in Paris,
Right.
or in just about any city in France, at just about any city in Italy? If you go to Buenos Aires or Rio or somewhere in Greece or Turkey, the Middle East, everyone's talking, and there's kind of a buzz going on, and it's fun. And what we think is that people are doing their office work in the office on the laptop, and they're actually getting face-to-face work done in the coffee shops. It's true. The work is face-to-face.
Wow.
And that's how you get the relationships going, and because you work better with people that you share values with.
Absolutely. Let me hit this. Did you ever
Yeah.
watch the show Cheers?
Yeah.
Imagine everyone walks in and nobody pays attention because everyone's on their phones.
Yeah.
And
That'd be a good bit. Jimmy Fallon, anyone out there, that'd
Yeah.
be great to recreate that.
No, for sure.
And there's
Completely.
like literally no conversation.
Yeah.
But, for sure. But when I say imagine, I don't have to, because that's what's actually happening outside right now.
Completely.
I mean, you go on the GO train, you go on the place, just walking out on the street, everyone's glued to their phones. It's like people have stopped and they've forgotten how to communicate.
Well, it's more than that even. When I used to run restaurants and stuff as well, and we would get people who would go to a restaurant, and a couple, and they've each got a cell phone,
Right.
and they're on their cell phones during the meal. They're not even talking to
That's
each
love.
other.
That's love, Jimson.
Oh, that's love of your phone is what it is.
They're
Right.
playing an
And-
online game using
No,
the Wi-Fi of the
it's-
establishment. That's
but you'll see, that could be.
against each other.
Could
Yeah.
be, but you just do a Bluetooth now.
and
But
the- yeah, I agree.
but a lot of it is to try and show other people what a great time you had. So you smile when it's the selfie, and you smile and you take a photo of all the food you have, and that's all cool. But you're not actually, I think, actually having a good time, and it's about giving the impression or the online impression that you're having a good time, and we really wanted to get away from that. So the one table so the small counters, the low things, we hire staff who excel in that sort of environment. They're people that talk to everybody. You remember their names and do all sorts of stuff like that. And by having this low-profile coffee equipment, you don't just pay at the cashier and then you kind of stand there and wait for them to call your name and whatever. There's interaction all the way through. Doing
Right.
your thing.
Right.
You can look you in the eye and
Yes.
say, hi, how was your day or whatever.
That kind of sounded like dial-up Wi-Fi. But
No, well, we don't do that. We have a little patio out in the back, and the little patio in the back, instead of having lots of little tables, it's got 4 picnic tables. So unless you're 6 people, you're going to end up sharing with someone.
Yeah, I like that.
Well,
I like that.
It's
Communal picnic tables.
yeah. And that again is to encourage the interactivity, sociability of it. And it's not to try and turn the place faster. Some people, you don't have Wi-Fi just because you don't want people hanging out. It's not the case. People hang out a lot, even that they're talking.
For sure.
Over a coffee, they may be out there for hours, just blah 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 blah, and that's okay.
You know what? I was going to say that kind of just the evolution. I mean, everything you're saying, there's a time where, we can't judge because, I never thought I'd drink coffee. I drink coffee. I remember everything that we're talking about. I suffered from it greatly. I had 2 jobs. I was working to build another career, which was like a 3rd job essentially. And I ended up kind of wiping the slate clean, and I moved to LA with my family. And I remember being there, and we lived in Santa Monica on Main Street. And really quickly, we realized that we just loved it. We loved being by the Pacific. And there's a pace on the West Coast that we can really learn from on the East. Okay, I love just quick talk East Coast. We're just right to the point. But there's something about the West where, You know, they still got grit in their teeth. They still like kind of know how to conduct quick business, but it's in a very different way. It's because the Pacific, it just has that way of calming you. When I was there, I make a joke about it, but I learned to taste my food again. Okay, like I literally started to taste my food. We would walk for maybe 2.5, 3 hours as a normal thing. We walked everywhere. I drove once a week. Okay, so if you're gonna move to LA, be by the water. You have everything there. You don't have to go inland if you don't need to for work. You can avoid that traffic. With that said, I remember that I was talking with my wife, we would say that, oh, we're gonna go see John or Mary, and that was the name of the owner, or the barista, or the butcher, or whoever it was, the hairdresser. We didn't even know the names of the businesses. You know, these big box stores which you kind of feel bad for them, and I'm not going to call them out, but, you know, to me it's just like, it's quick profit. You know, their margins are great, and people have such a low end. There's like no expertise, nothing. They couldn't care less if they're there or not. And then we experienced the other contrast, where there's like love in that product, even if it's just someone who made like a scarf or something. And I remember thinking, this changed me. That time in LA changed me to think there's something about paying attention to people that love what they're doing and letting that love, there's almost like a splash effect in it, where I'll never forget when I went into a copy store, and there was an old gentleman there. He was in his 70s, and he was passionate about photocopying. Like, he actually said, what do you need to photocopy, young man? And he literally brought out different stocks of paper, and like, what do you want to the touch? Like, do you want it to be like, and I'm not joking, this was genuine. And
Cool.
It was amazing. And he made photocopies. And we say this all the time, it's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Yeah,
you know?
Do it with passion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, now let me ask, how is being someone of passion, right? I mean, like, you're definitely that. I definitely know you taste your food. You taste your wine.
Yeah.
You know. What's the term? Sommelier?
Oh, sommelier?
Sommelier? See that?
Sommelier just means that you're running the cellar, literally, in France.
Okay.
In France. And so if you're the sommelier, you're kind of keeping up the wine list, if you like.
Yeah.
And then, so it's a job. And then it's also a qualification. So you can be a qualified sommelier, and then you know all about the grapes and the wines and how they're made and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, amazing. Yeah. No, so I just like learning. As you learn and you have different tastes and you start to grow, you know, and maybe one day, you know, you'll never have Tim Hortons. I mean, but that's your choice. We talked about earlier about the power of choice. Remember?
That's right.
You know.
That's right.
But it's satisfying need. You know, a lot of that is very much about caffeine and getting the hit that you need.
Yeah.
And they're providing a need.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
there's a need there.
Absolutely.
And I don't have any problem with it. It's the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of the focus on flavor and being natural and quality and all that stuff that we do. But that doesn't mean that there's not a place for it.
No, it's good. I mean, I had a good friend. His wife, she was getting fitted for her wedding dress. Okay, and the lady fitting her was a little grumpy, was pretty curt and really quick. And imagine this is someone who's fitting her for her wedding dress. So my friend's wife to be at the time, you know, she looked down and saw her measuring and just being really like, and instead of taking it personally, she actually asked her, she said, hey, just, you know, and she asked her kind of just stand up and said to her, are you okay? She's like, is everything okay? And the lady working felt like, you know, she got called on it.
Yeah.
But she didn't mean it in that way. She actually said, no. And she said, I'm just want to make sure that you're fine. Like, you seem like you're having a bad day. And the lady who was measuring her wedding dress said, yeah, I just found out this week I have cancer.
Oh.
Okay. So, I mean, there's like little stories like that like, obviously it might be extreme, but it drives the point that if you pay attention, there could be someone like right there. You know, that there's just, if we paid attention a little bit more in life, there's a great quote that we say regularly, where you are, be all there. And there's something about in the present, being able I've had amazing conversations with the baristas that I've got to know. Like, I mean, 7 years ago, I didn't even know what a barista was. That's the truth. But there's something over that where you just talk life. You say like where you're at.
It's like a bartender as
exactly.
well.
Yeah. It's
without
important.
the alcohol.
Do your baristas ask for the names of the people when they're doing the coffee?
Well, no, not like that. Not if you're just a one-off order. We do loyalty cards. We could do the electronic thing, but we don't. We do a card with a little, punchy hole thing.
Okay, nice.
But the reason we do that is and go offline and do it analog like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is
yeah.
we keep them.
Okay.
So that way, when you come in, you don't have to pull the card out of your wallet. We're holding the card for you.
Okay.
And so you'll say, hey, the first time it's like, you want a loyalty card? Yeah, sure. My name's Constantine. So
Yes.
we write your name on the card, and it goes in the Rolodex. and that way,
An actual Rolodex.
well, it's like there's 2,500 of them now, so it's a big Rolodex. But
Yeah.
we've got them in boxes, all
That's
listed
cool.
up alphabetically,
Yeah.
and that way we manually
That's
have
cool.
to do it.
I love
And the point of it is not to slow things down. Far from it. It's to increase the sort of interactivity of it. It's not just bing, 10% off. No, my name's Constantine. Oh yeah, Constantine. Ding, ding, ding. And then the other staff, because we have like 12 of them or so, will also learn your name that way.
Nice.
If you got a loyalty card, you hear, oh yeah, my name's Constantine. Oh yeah, and I'll just get it for you. So we'll find the Constantine card.
Amazing.
And it allows us to learn people's names. So we do it in a way that is not, Jimson, write my name on the cup and whatever, which is really an administrative way to kind of get the coffee to me.
Nice.
We
Yeah.
do it in a way which is to try and increase the sociability part of it.
And it minimizes fumes. Those Sharpies are dangerous. I'm just saying. I mean,
Hey.
you know.
Jimson, one of the things I've always noticed about you, I mean, I've known you for a couple of years, obviously, from Soho House in Montecito.
Yeah,
and
it's like 6 years.
yeah, actually, even
6
maybe a little
years?
bit more at the Royal York.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
7 years ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was the food and beverage director of outlets.
That's
at
right.
Royal
Now-
York. That's where we met.
One of the things that you're consistent year after, I mean, not even year, day, whenever I meet you, is that you always have this like contagious smile, okay? Right? And it's actually, I mean, it's such an incredible attitude to have in general. I mean, I don't know what's going on behind the Jimson frame, but at the end of the day, it is amazing to see that. Let me ask you this. What do you stand for?
Ooh, I don't know.
Ooh.
I never thought about it. I just do it.
Yeah?
I don't know. I don't know what I stand for.
We
I
start-
stand for respect, I guess.
Yeah.
That every time I've ever hired someone, and there's been a lot, when we opened Soho House, that was 150 people to open the door.
Yeah.
So we had to interview, I don't know, probably 300 or 400 people to open the door that way. And, when you do that, you get a whole HR team and everything. But I have a little kind of speech that they've got through. They've got through the the interview, the resume, the HR,
Yes.
and they get to me. And they don't have to get to me, but I think it's important that everybody meets me.
I love that.
In person.
Yeah.
And then the little speech is, okay, you've made it to me, you're hired. And you're hired, but I'm telling you, there's some rules. And the rules are that everything is based on mutual respect. You should have as much, if not more, respect for the cleaner than you do for me as general manager. He's probably going through a rougher time than I am. Okay? So respect, and that respect extends to everything. That extends to race, and that extends to sexuality and sexism and just about any form of discrimination.
Right.
And I'm telling you right now that if there are ever any opportunities, any instances where you show a lack of respect to someone else, you will be fired on the spot. And if that means that we go to court, bring it on, because I'm going to win. So you set the ground rules like that.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the next part is like, so remember this conversation, because we may have to have this conversation again in a week or a month or a year, but I'm not going back on it. And at the base is mutual respect for all levels of humanity.
What I love
Right.
about that, it's so simple.
It is.
Like, I mean, it's so simple.
I mean, how could you argue?
Imagine you applied that in just any circle. Like, I know that's a house rule.
Right.
I mean, what you just said right there is exactly what should be said in any home, any school environment,
Right.
any work environment. I mean, any type of circle. I mean, I'm glad that.
Racial awareness training
Just-
in Starbucks, they have to shut for an afternoon for that. Come
Yeah,
on,
which was a PR thing for
Oh
sure.
my
Okay,
God, you
I know.
can't fix that in an afternoon.
No,
And
not at all.
and so but that's the ground rule. And then the other part of that's the sort of the ground rule. And then the next part of the conversation is, if you have an idea or a problem, I want you to share it, because if you've got an idea and you're not sharing it with everybody, then I've missed out selfishly on a good idea. And you're going to feel like your idea was just kind of sunk into and you didn't use it. Or if you have a problem, similarly, if you've got a problem and you're letting it kind of build inside you,
Right.
don't do that.
Right.
Don't
Yeah.
do that. Say something.
Yep.
Say something to your management. to say something to your manager. And if you feel that you can't talk to your manager, here's my card and here's my cell phone. I'd like you to respect the managerial, thing if you can.
That's right.
Yeah.
Just because I can't have 150 people calling me
That's right.
for like something small.
Right.
But if you feel that you can't communicate this,
But there's that lifeline.
you can
if they need to.
communicate with
Yeah,
me.
It's important.
And then when it was Soho House or Montecito or food and beverage thingy at Roy York, or
Right.
I was at George before as well, same thing. Here's the you should also feel free that if there's something you don't like that I'm doing, you should contact my boss.
Right.
And well, they can't go in the coffee shop. They can't go any higher than me.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but at the same time, if you've got a problem, let's discuss it.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't promise you that I can solve it, but I promise that I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
And if it's something that I can't solve, and I'm sorry, that's the situation.
Yeah.
But I promise you that I will listen to it confidentially, and I will do whatever I can to fix it.
It's great. I mean, it's just, again, respect. Just to be
It's
able
a
to,
respect.
just to give that. It's like, treat people the way you wanted to be treated. We have a guest, motivational speaker. He's a great artist too. He's just released a song, Treat 'Em Well. And it's a song that he performs in elementary schools and high schools. I mean, think of the message, just treat people well. If they don't to you, you still have the choice to treat them well back. I mean,
Completely.
that's like, this is kindergarten lessons that, we've seen in so many circles. It didn't matter the class level, the wealth level, what the point of why all these people are in a room. You see, when people disrespect each other, it's not good. It's not good. I mean, it's that simple.
Well,
Like, you all feel it. Everyone feels it.
Completely.
Yeah, it's like a poverty moment as people. Let me ask, for myself, treating people well comes from two things. I was someone when I was young and dumb. I was really foolish. My kind of lack of respect for boundaries went to a lack of respect of authority, which lent to a lack of respect to people who didn't like what I was doing. So if you weren't for me, you were against me. And I went on, they say the best defense is a great offense. So I found a way to kind of intimidate people in order to keep them at bay. I say that because I wasn't nice to people, and I saw how over the years, how it made my life really poor. I remember being 11, and my mom just recently got a job. She started working as a cashier. She had to go to work for the first time, and my mom was amazing. She was that mom that when she came to the schoolyard, all the kids ran to the school, like literally up to her and said, "Mrs. Reventar," and they literally like chased her like she's Mary Poppins or something.
Yeah.
Okay, and I remember when she had to go to work, I went to kind of surprise her. She's working at Miracle Mart. Rest in peace. Remember Miracle Mart, right?
Yeah.
And while I was there was a big dude who was just like verbally abusing her, like just shouting. And I never saw my dad do that to her, and to see this stranger doing that. I was 11, but I had evil thoughts. Okay, I was ready to kill this guy. And I remember like just sitting in the thought of what I would do to him. And eventually he walked past me because he was 5 times my size. But that powerless feeling of like, man, I don't want anyone to ever talk to my mom like that. And, so I think that's for me like an origin story on why I actually care why you should treat people, especially in service. The guy who's opening the door or detailing your car.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're amazing. Like if you really talk to them, they're amazing people who have these stories of like, oh, I just survived 3 refugee camps and I was here. And like, that's what I love about Toronto. About the Six is that there's like, man, you want a plethora of stories. There's
Everything here.
the whole world. I mean, we have a worldwide scope of how people end up in this city. Let me ask you, was there something for yourself, this love of service? I mean, along with your smile and just that like great stellar work that you bring, and it's like, it like reverberates from you. It's amazing. It's more than just the bass in your voice. Okay, is there something that happened whether you're young or that you saw that you just said, you know what? I'm going to make a choice to treat people well. Is it just something that kind of was slowly ingrained that you just embraced and always believed? Or was there a defining moment? Because when I talk about service, I don't know if there's many that do it the way you do it. We've seen you prep. I remember when you were opening Montecito, it was right before TIFF, and just the way you opened up. Man, you're a founding GM of Soho House a couple years after Montecito.
Right.
These are huge very, like high notoriety places.
Right.
It was right before TIFF with all the celebrities and everything that frequented these places. And I would distinctly remember you having your staff. And I remember just this huge floor of just everything from chefs to servers to barbacks. And you never talked to any of them differently. You spoke with all of them with just great value and respect. That's
Right.
something that, as we build what we do in the city, it definitely, like, it molded, and it's like just that beautiful picture that you don't have to talk down. It's just like, you know, you lead by just by loving them almost in a way.
Right.
Yeah, well, I kind of do.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
where-
it's the
let me ask,
family.
where's
Where
that
did
come from? That's like, you do that, like, why?
You know, I don't know. I never thought about it.
Yeah.
It just seemed like the right thing to do.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I'm gonna have to really think about it.
Okay, nice. Future episode.
yeah.
Future episode. Jerry, if you can book that in.
I don't have an answer for you. I've lived all around the world, and I think it helps by seeing places which are hard. And I used to live in England, and I was setting up sugar refineries of all things. I used to be a manager and set up sugar refineries, and I went to Jamaica and set up a sugar refinery there. And you know, we were in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't Montego Bay or Ocho Rios or something. This is in a really hard country environment there, and you know, people with you know, dirt floors, and you know, it's a big deal to have a light
Wow.
bulb. You know,
Dirt floors.
yeah,
I
that's
mean,
what it's like.
I
You
can't-
know, that's what
I
it's
can't
like.
imagine it. I
Yeah,
mean-
well, it's a good thing to see.
Yeah.
It was a hard experience. You know, the engineer for the sugar refinery there where I was, he had a dirt floor, man, and he took me back to his home, and you know, super proud of his chickens, and but I went to his home, you know. Oh, is that my phone? I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
That's good. Yo, keep going. International story. We got an organic soundtrack. Continue.
So the that's
love it.
really annoying me.
Just go.
It's fine.
And for the I can't do it, man. Yeah, just throw it out the window.
Well, now we know your ringtone, right?
Oh,
I
my
love it.
God,
That's-
yeah, and I've got way too many pockets in that. You're
I
gonna-
love that ring.
Yeah, it's so
The accordion.
How
stupid.
good is that?
Accordion.
I
Yeah,
love the
just-
accordion. It's so good.
There you go.
Yeah.
How can you not smile?
No, here, hand it over because
How
it's
can you not
gonna
smile when you hear
turn
accordion?
itself on again. This stupid thing.
That'd be funny.
So
Speaking of connecting,
yeah,
we might have answered, just so you know. Yeah, say hello. It's all good.
I'm turning it off. Sorry, guys.
514 area code. What's that?
514.
That's Montreal, isn't it?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Could be a telemarketer.
Oh no, I could be
Yeah.
in trouble. So the when we were there, and you know, this engineer, he's literally got a dirt floor, right, and just a couple of mattresses on kind of straw stuff, and he's got a fridge and a light bulb, and you know, and there I was, and I've got my little Jeep, and I guess you know, I felt privileged, and that things that you
Do you feel guilty? Did guilt come? Yeah, that's good.
I didn't feel guilty. I just felt that they got the shaft, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And in terms materially, just for the luck of the, you know, I was born in England, whatever, and I just was born into this particular society, and
Yeah.
with that there were opportunities, and for them he was just born. He was just born in that society,
Right.
and those were the cards he was dealt.
Which I heard that if you make $34,000 a year, I think that's a U.S. figure, you are in the top 1 percentile of wealth in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Based out of where?
If you make $34,000 U.S.
In general. You're saying in general.
you are in the
globally.
top, globally, you are in the
Wow.
top 1 percentile of wealth.
Jeez,
No, I
man.
believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. And then, but what I found really cool is that with a dirt floor and a light bulb and a fridge, you can still be seriously content
It's amazing.
and happy
Yeah.
and happy.
Yeah.
And just like he wasn't in a competition to you know, I've got a light bulb and the other guy doesn't.
Right.
He was just happy to have the light bulb.
Oh, it's so good.
And yeah,
I mean,
I guess
that's the definition
was-
of contentness
it
is
was-
your circle, to be
yeah.
content with what you have.
completely.
Yeah.
And
I never
guess,
say I'm content that, you know, he drives that car. No, it doesn't work
Right,
that
right.
way.
Yeah, completely. But I think it's about, do I need a bigger car or a faster car, or do I need this? I kind of turned away, I guess, from. No, don't get me wrong. I still like my stuff. You know, I like
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
I have my boots on. And,
Yeah,
you
but
know,
I guess it's stuff though.
it's stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if
that's
anyone
the key,
if
man.
anyone has had a loved one find out the bad news that they got sick, for example, or if they their career like a door closes,
Yeah.
it all becomes stuff very quick.
Completely.
Right? Very, very
And
quickly.
it's just stuff. And does
Yeah.
that make you happier? Is it a stuff competition? You know, because there's always going to be someone richer than you.
Right.
Yeah.
There's always going to be someone, well, unless you're number one, but
even number one, you can have,
yeah.
as recent news, you can have it, not have a prenup, and
Completely.
and it gets divided in half because of
Absolutely.
divorce.
That's
right?
right.
completely.
Yeah.
So, just because you got the possibility of the most stuff doesn't make you the happiest. And actually, my experience in the restaurants were that the wealthier ones were the unhappiest.
Yeah. Interesting.
I used to be the general manager of some pretty fancy fine dining places, and I just didn't find that the wealthiest people were the happiest.
That's right.
Interesting. I mean, take note of that. You know what? Speaking of being happy, there's something that I know that you take great joy in doing. Behind you on the shelf, there's a bottle. There's a bottle of champagne. Do you mind grabbing that bottle? Well, look at that reach. Amazing. Okay.
I'm not going to saber this. Oh my God! Seriously?
Uh-oh.
No, it's got to be chilled. It's got to be chilled. I can't do it here.
Really?
It's got to be chilled. I can't do it.
We're actually. It's perfect that you said that because we're not going to do it here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
we're actually going to do it outside.
Oh, okay. But you need to chill it.
It has to be
really?
chilled?
Oh
Yeah,
man,
yeah.
Really?
we had our intern, our 17-year-old intern Jerry. Jerry, did you know it had to be chilled?
Well, I guess I could. It might make a bit
Did
of
you
a
know?
bang. Well, we can do that.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. I'm just worried about it going really bang.
Hey.
So what they're talking about
Yeah.
is. Did you see me online do this?
No, in person.
Oh, I did it in person.
Yeah.
Okay, so I went to. You're crazy guys. So I went to France to learn French.
Yeah.
After the sugar thing, I set up a sugar refinery in Jamaica, and then I went to Australia and set up a sugar refinery there. And then I got offered a job in the middle of nowhere in Australia. And you know what? I think it's time for me to move on and learn another language. And I went to France and sold everything. I went to France to learn French. Started learning French during the day, and I got a job as a bartender at nighttime in this really cool spot. I lied my way into the job. I'd never been a bartender before in my life. That's how I got into the sort of the service thing.
Nice.
Oh my God, it was cool.
That's hilarious.
And when it's the birthday of a restaurant in France, they bring out champagne for the staff or the guests or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not cold.
Actually, you know what, Pat? Pop that in the fridge.
Yeah, let's get that in the fridge
but
right
see,
now.
no,
See if there's a
and
freezer
it-
section.
If there's a freezer section,
Yeah, put it in
it'll
the
be good in
freezer.
a half an hour. Don't forget it though, because then it'll go bang the other way.
Yeah. And it's actually going to, I mean,
top-
we're going
on
to
the
do
top
it
part.
outside. It's like minus
Yeah, there you
7, feeling like minus
Yeah.
14 right now.
So in this restaurant that I was working, Cafe Pacifico, there must have been, I don't know, 24 bottles of champagne or something, and this guy from the kitchen came out with a Swiss Army knife, and he was just going, just chopping the tops off as fast as that. Put another one.
What?
Whoa, that is cool, dude. And he was sabering a bottle
With
of
a
champagne.
Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I can do it with a spoon.
Really?
Or another glass, even if you get it right. So basically, there's a weak spot on the top of a champagne bottle, because a champagne bottle is made in two halves, and where they glue together, where the rim meets the two halves, there's kind of a weak spot. And if you nail it absolutely right
Where's
on
the weak spot? Like on the seam?
it's where it's on
Like
the
the seam of the glass?
The seam between the two halves of the glass on the bottle, where it meets the rim. Is the weakest spot on the bottle. And if you just nick it just right, then it will crack, and the pressure of the bottle from the inside will
Yeah.
blow the thing off.
It makes sense why it has to be cold. It makes sense because it gives it that little more of that brittleness of the glass, right?
No, I think it's because there's too much pressure when it's warm, and you don't know if someone's dropped it or whatever
That's
as
right.
well. Like,
Exactly.
whoa,
So
when there's a
yeah,
lot
so
of
it's the
pressure.
opposite.
It was I was testing.
Yeah,
you.
no,
That's
no.
great, man.
Yeah,
Hey,
he was
there's-
testing you. He
I
was
was
just to see if you
testing you.
really
There's
knew
a-
it. You passed.
There's I don't know if you can see it here. There's a little scar on my wrist, and
Oh my
I was handed a
goodness.
bottle of on the patio at George Restaurant. I'd just done this sabering contest, and the video went a little viral. And I was asked to saber at the table, and they handed me this bottle, and it was cold enough, but it must have been dropped or shaken or something. And so I just, at the table, and it exploded, man. And I put a piece of glass right into my wrist.
Oh my God!
And it's like,
Whoa.
thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Blood everywhere. And
Really?
luckily I didn't hurt
We have-
anyone.
Jimson might not make it back home today.
No,
but
it's okay. It's okay. I'll do
We have
it.
a first
I'll do it.
aid kit in the studio.
It's okay. We're all good. We're all
Jerry,
good.
we have the first
Well,
aid kit.
look. Before we do this, where, if you want to do the shout out, where can one find hot black coffee?
Oh,
Yeah.
the coffee shop, 245 Queen West.
All right.
Bright red front.
Hours?
7 to 7 Monday to Friday, 8 till 7 at the weekend. And that's the coffee shop. Come by. Ask for me if you're there. I'm not there all the time because I do, we have great staff and they
Nice.
run the place and they do it all,
Yeah.
What I get a kick out of is I get a kick of going into a place that I've kind of set up
Yep.
and it's working without me.
Exactly.
That's, for me, that's pride.
That's rewarding.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and it's not like when I walk out the door and it falls to pieces. I don't get pride out of that.
I mean,
that they need me. I get pride the other way, that they can do it themselves.
Without you, that's true leadership. True leadership does that. It leaves, it lets them grow. It lets them take ownership of it themselves versus,
and they do.
Yeah,
And I'm
which is
so
amazing.
proud of the place.
Where's the second location going to be?
Oh, let's calm down. One little step at a time. One little step at a time. I don't
Nice.
know. We also understand that going from 1 to 2, it's possible to when you have a fire in one place, you can put it out quite easily. When you have a fire in 2 places, do you let one of the buildings burn down?
Right.
So we need to get ourselves into a state, because it's only small with 12 employees, we need to get ourselves into a state where I'm 100% replaceable.
Right.
And Momi, my business partner, is 100% replaceable. And we're not completely there yet. It's been
Right.
2.5 years open. I think that's the idea. Momi's in Japan, actually, right now for 5
wow.
weeks holiday.
Yeah.
5 weeks because she needs the rest, and it's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
And also it's kind of a good way to see how the local team can handle one of the owners not being there.
Yes.
Right.
And then it's kind of part of the progression and letting them really look after the place themselves properly.
Okay.
And then we'll see. I don't know.
What's it called? The bus theory? Is that what you?
I was actually going to. It's called the bus crash test.
I don't know
What that
is.
basically means is, I mean, it probably stems from the plane crash test, but what it stems from is that if a CEO was to get on a bus or a plane and the plane was to go down and he was to die, would his business fall completely apart?
Yeah.
Or would it sustain? And I guess that's what you're saying from your end.
I think I could get run over by a bus. Maybe I won't drive it, but
Right.
I could get run over by a bus, and I hope that the place will carry on, without me.
Yeah. Let's hope that we never have to find that out, but just
Completely.
Yeah.
But
in theory, yes.
well, in theory, there's an end to everything,
Yeah, you're right.
And I think that's the other part of the you've brought back a couple of times about life and stuff. Life is short, man.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm 55 now, and Jerry's only 17 over there.
That's
I
right,
heard,
yeah,
but,
that's right.
Yeah, young buck.
yeah, he doesn't look 17. I'll tell you that.
Oh, man.
And
Maybe
easy.
18, maybe 18.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
I said again, he fast tracked.
Yeah, but life's short, and if you're always doing stuff now to be happy in the future, then you can't count on the future.
Yeah.
You got to try and be happy now.
Yeah,
Right, in the
I love
moment.
it, man.
That's
Some
good,
amazing
man.
things. You know what? With that said, right now we're gonna go outside. Let's go.
Okay.
And before we do, thank you so much,
Oh, guys.
Jimson,
Yeah.
for being part of this. I mean,
But the cool thing is that you guys have shared the vision right from the start. Now, you guys may not have known it, but when we worked together at the Royal York Hotel, and we had a kind of a funny night at Bollywood, right?
Right,
Where
that's
we
right.
had to, and I was
The IFA Awards.
yeah, that's right. And I was all night and as one of the directors because it was so crazy
That's
outside.
right. It
And
was
I was
madness.
working next to you guys to make sure people weren't kind of busting into the hotel. And I could see with you guys that you weren't just bouncers.
Mm-hmm.
You treated every one of those people with respect.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved on to my next job, and the first job I had was setting up the Soho House, international celebrity place. I didn't reach out to a company. I reached out to people who I thought shared the same values.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And you
Yeah.
guys are great.
No, I appreciate that.
And you know, it's professional, but it's more than just professional. It's a friendship based out of mutual respect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, sounds
Absolutely.
good.
Thank you so much.
We definitely, if we can come for coffee, we keep saying that we're going to. We need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks.
I
Thanks so
guess
much, guys.
I know Mike is bubbling inside.
Okay.
like a
Bubble.
champagne
Let's
bottle.
do it. Man.
Yeah, so
Okay,
let's do this. Let's do
Just
this.
make that. Have the honors. All right.
We are ready.
Okay. So.
Okay.
Here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to take a very sharp weapon and just hit this bottle exactly where the seam meets the neck. And take the cage off first.
Yep.
And then it'll cut the whole top off with the cork. And then we drink it. It's easy.
Yeah.
This is something you should not do. Okay, so how we do this? Where am I going? Is I'm going to hit it exactly where the seam hits the neck. And if all goes well, there we go.
Make sure to drop by next week.
Let's go.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Let's go.
It's time to give a shout out to our sponsors. This podcast is brought to you by Sentinel Security Plus. For all your premium security needs, visit sentinelsecurityplus.com. We got some questions for you.
Holla at your boy.
What do you stand for?
Constantine, it's Mike.
Hey, what's going on, man?
I know the perfect guest for next week, dude. Joel Gerson.
That's the guy who owns like the best MMA gym in Canada.
Did you know he was bullied as a kid?